Today, I'd like to speak about a book called The Mayan Factor. It took me about a minute reading this book before it started to remind me of other books I had read a long time ago. Sure enough, I flipped through the pages and what did I find? The Doors of Perception. And in the bibliography, I found another author I was very familiar with, Carlos Castaneda. Back in the 1960s, we suffered a cultural upheaval in the United States. There were a lot of minor revolutions in drug experimentation, even among the well-educated. Some people wrote about their drug experiences and became very famous for them. Aldous Huxley wrote The Doors of Perception, and Carlos Castaneda, who wrote a series of books describing his training in Mexican shamanism, practices which included hallucinogenic drug use, like peyote and mushrooms, for increased awareness. The idea was to see beyond the reality, know more than knowing, break the barriers of our physical being by developing a more powerful psychic awareness. Many people are curious about new or exotic experiences. We are intrigued by ancient Egyptian remains, Chinese culture, South American and Native American traditions. Some people are just curious. Others are looking for answers to their own personal problems. The book begins by immediately calling our attention to other controversial subjects, the Jesuits, the I Ching, and a galactic synchronization beam, a time wave that is now triggering a new phase of galactic evolution. Every person has the capacity to tap into this galactic beam that emanates from a galactic nucleus, and this beam also controls all the activities and conceptions in the world. The author then attempts to disqualify rational science. He reminds us that science does not have a logical explanation for the UFOs, the diverse paranormal experiences, and the discovery in 1976 of phenomena rationally unexplainable on Mars. Rational science has hidden the documentation of these events because they can't explain them. For the author, technological superiority is a myth. Having disqualified rational science, as well as rational thought, we can proceed into his world. Jose compares the Mayan calendar to the I Ching frequently, and claims it is beyond rational science to comprehend it. It has a holonomic resonance. Our DNA has 64 amino acids. The I Ching has 64 hexagrams. When added, all of the lines equal 260. Ben Franklin also made a magic square that also added up to the number 260. The Mayan Tzolk'in calendar has 260 days. It all adds up. The author's point is that there are numbers in the universe that almost seem to be living. They are like entities, eternal and intangible, that occupy dimensions of the mind. The calendar used by the Mayans he calls a harmonic module. It's a code. Just like our alphabet possesses a grand power and can communicate great wisdom of the universe, the same could be said also of these codes in the calendar that harmonically link our soul to the galaxy beyond. According to the author, the name Maya is found in Hindu philosophy. In Sanskrit, it's linked to concepts like the mind and magic. Maya was the name of the mother of Buddha. Maya was also the name of a famous astronomer and the name of a tribe of nomad navigators, and also the advisor to King Tut was also called Maya. Therefore, the name Maya has a universal link and a spiritual link with the cosmos. The author suggests that if we act as if their myths are fact, and morph the name of their possible place of origin, Tulan, we can perhaps come to the conclusion that they actually came from another planet, are actually galactic agents, and are returning on December 21st from that planet to transform reality. But if the relatively late birth of the Mayan civilization is spectacular, its disappearance is even more so. In the year 830, after 500 to 600 years of intense activity, the Mayan Sanders were abandoned to the jungle. As there is an effort to suggest internal revolutions, droughts, famines, pestilence, which causes abandonment of large cities, there is no definitive proof of any of these theories. The possibility remains that the Maya consciously abandoned their civilizations once it reached its peak. Jose explains that Hunab Ku means unique principle of movement and measure, principle of life beyond the sun. This is the center and heart of the galaxy. It is linked with the Kuksin Suim, the way of heaven that carries us to the umbilical cord of the universe. Originally, Domingo Martinez interpreted it as a square within a circle or a circle within a square. Jose modified the idea, making it look similar to the yin-yang symbol, which suggests a spiral galaxy. How was he able to change the design so radically? The earliest known reference to the term Hunab Ku is from the 16th century. It's unknown in any pre-Spanish Mayan inscriptions. The Mayans actually had 4 different calendars. The Tzolk'in, meaning sacred, round, is the first calendar used by them. It had 260 days, 13 months of 20 days each. Why 260 days? We don't know for sure, but the theories are that's the time it takes for the conception and birth of a human person, or the time for cornfields to grow. Next is the Hob calendar, 360 days, 18 months of 20 days each. A 5-day month was added so the sun could do the full solar cycle. Combine those 2 calendars and we get the calendar round. This is about 52 years. This calendar round is still used by Guatemalans in the highlands today. This was the longest calendar in Mesoamerica, but it wasn't enough. Finally, we have the long count. It has a mythological starting point, and it begins, according to the majority of Mayan scholars, August 11th, 3114 BC. By its linear nature, this calendar is capable of being extended to refer to any date far into the past or future. Laid out flat, the Tzolk'in calendar could look something like this. Keeping in mind that those dark green days in the center forming that unusual design, that's the creativity of our modern 20th century authors. Those dark green days are supposed to represent hyper days, where there's more vibrations in the earth, so more activity like earthquakes are going to be more possible. So, December 21st, 2012 is exactly 13 Bakdan since the mythological foundation of the Maya. This is similar to the odometer in your automobile. When it reaches the 999999 level, we think something great is going to happen. Nothing actually happens. The numbers continue to roll over to 000, you buy more gas, and you move on. The Mayans are a people connected by language and cultural affinity. There are actually 30 different dialects within the Mayan language today. Just as there are many different dialects, there are many different types of literature and diverse architectural styles, art styles, and calendars. The area is just a little smaller than Egypt, which means the area is actually quite large. Some of the Mayans may be planning some really big parties on December 21st, but no one's packing their bags. Books like The Mayan Factor and authors like Dan Brown, they're successful today because we no longer have an intellectually satisfying education. We are given today only an operational education. We have been made isolated, and all of our definitions and understandings of things is only subjective. We have slogans and ideologies. We have emotional expressions and a misplacement of satisfactions. A misplacement of satisfactions is when you find your emotional satisfaction in making a lot of money or a ton of other meaningless exercises. Thank you for watching.